Hello and welcome to UX Andy. I'm Andy and I love UX. This is my very first video for this channel and I'm really excited to launch this channel. I've been in the UX industry for the last 7 years here in New Zealand and I've enjoyed every moment of it. I've worked for a wide range of companies on an equally wide number of projects, and I thought that I'd share some of my knowledge from those projects and my experiences with you guys here. For my first video, I thought it was a good idea to start with the basics as to what UX is, why we do it, and what happens when companies don't do it, and how that might impact users. I always think it's a good idea to start with realizing the mistakes or other people's could have done betters to then learn how you might be able to do better yourself. And these are fundamental things that you guys need to be aware of when doing UX. It's the reason we do UX, so we can avoid problems like these. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so we're going to start off with, of course, the question, what is UX and usability and why is it important? User experience is a person's emotions and attitudes about a particular product, system or service. Put simply, usability is how we use things and how we understand things. Usability can make or break a product, system, service, or environment. It's very important to consider this. And the UX design, well, design is not just what it looks and feels like, design is also how it works, and that was said by the Apple guy Steve Jobs. When the user isn't considered, it leads to things that are hard to use. Here we have an example of a stairwell. The carpet should not have been chosen for this application. The designer did not consider the materials that they were using and the environment that those materials were being placed in. Therefore, you have a really difficult to navigate stairwell, and if you are vision impaired, then you might be at risk of tumbling down them. Here we have a bike lane that intersects with a crash barrier. Now, it's almost like the chicken and the egg, which one came first? But the result is that we have a bike lane that you will need to get over to continue using. It's pretty useless and not great for users. Once again, the user wasn't considered. The environment wasn't considered, and therefore we end up with things like this. And the context and environment must be considered when doing UX or any type of design. And here we have an example of a switch on an elevator. It's proof that even something super simple can be stuffed up. Which button do you push to go up? Which button do you push to go down? It's really hard to tell. So avoid confusing design also. And sometimes it might be a good idea to combine a product. Here is IKEA's toilet brush plunger, but in practice it doesn't work. You have a very unsturdy looking toilet brush stick stuck to a plunger, which means that it probably won't even work as a plunger, and then you have the other end, which is rubber, as a handle for a toilet brush. It just isn't going to work. It's the question to it's just not going to work. Here is a Mickey Mouse pencil. The eraser is in such a place that it's completely unusable. It wasn't considered. It should have just been removed altogether. And it almost leads on to this product here, the useless watering can. Beautifully designed but completely useless. It will never serve its purpose. Avoiding bad design like this is key for UX designers and designers alike. How the product is used and what it will be used for must be considered. When the user isn't considered, it leads to things that are hard to understand. And here is a perfect example of that. It's a quit smoking advertisement, but the placement of the ad, not taking into account the surrounding environment, leads to a double meaning. It's basically telling kids to quit school. Not good. Here we have a book where we have it's nicely designed, but the way the words are arranged make it say something that it's not meant to say, leading to all sorts of connotations that are all probably not so good. If the name was moved to the bottom of the book, then that confusion could have easily been avoided. Another wonderful example of bad typography would be this t-shirt here. It's supposed to say Super Hitters. I'm sure you can guess what it's really saying. So thinking about the context of how it's read is really important. This is a good point for things like buttons on your website. Are they easily understood? Do they have a double meaning? Always think about the context. And here is two well-designed and clear products. However, they both share the same design. So if you were slightly vision impaired or not paying attention or the lights were turned off and you were reaching for some canola oil, you'd really want to hope that you weren't picking up the fly spray. And this isn't just limited to, of course, products. Here is a wonderful website by Pacific Northwest X-Ray. They used, I think, all the colours in the rainbow. It's wonderful. Awful. It's terrible, and it doesn't work. It's so bad. I mean, you've got black. That's actually black on very dark blue, almost unreadable. And then at the same time, you've got bright yellow on light blue, which is also unreadable, and dark red on dark blue. They say simply the best. Well, certainly not in web design. Here is another website that is just a mess. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's so hard to navigate and understand. It's everything that you shouldn't do in web design. Another really good point I think that's worth making is when the user isn't considered, it leads to products that no one wants. And what I mean by that is that when a company devises a product, have they thought about their market? Have they thought about whether their market wants that product? That's a really important question. And here are some examples where the user was not considered, the market was not considered. So the first example is New Coke. Coke was losing the battle to Pepsi in the 80s. So they decided that what their customers wanted and needed was Coke's version of Pepsi. Not as an additional product line, but to replace the existing product line. It bombed spectacularly. This is despite the fact in focus groups, customers telling Coke, actually this is something we may not want, even though the product tested well. Now it begs the question, and this is the usability question here, if a customer thought, today I want a Pepsi, wouldn't they just buy a Pepsi? Would a user or a consumer just pick up the Pepsi instead of a Coke? Or did they want Coke's version of Pepsi? See, I suspect that the person who likes Pepsi would just buy a Pepsi. They wouldn't buy Coke. So it really wasn't considered at all the user in this, or what they're actually going to do. And I think it was 77 days later, Coke went back to the original formula. Colgate beef lasagna. Look at all these little bits of white. I wonder if that's Minty Fresh toothpaste. Yes, this product bombed also. But not because it was a product that was necessarily bad, but it was from a company that you wouldn't associate with this product line. Colgate is, of course, known for toothpaste and not ready to eat frozen meals. Once again, here we have a product that is coming from a company that might be well established, but the market never wanted. And here is a product that no one wanted, despite who it was marketed by. It is bottled water for pets. A terrible idea, and a great example of when the market is completely ignored. Amazon, best known for books, television shows, Jeremy Clarkson's Grand Tour, and their insatiable appetite for selling you stuff online, once tried to make a travel website for hotel booking. It bombed. Now, this one's quite interesting because on the face of it, Amazon is a trusted brand and I've got their fingers in many, many pies. But this was one pie too far and customers did not react well. They did not go for this and it failed. So this is proof that even a really big modern company like Amazon can get things wrong. They should have done their market research and talked to users and understood if users wanted to associate travel with Amazon, which clearly they did not. Now, this is a failure not just to consider the market, but also timing and so many other things. This was a complete colossal disaster for Bic. Bic for her. Pens designed for the woman. Yeah, it didn't work. It was a terrible idea. Not only was it sexist, but it was also insulting. And it wasn't coming out at a good time either. It failed, and rightly so. Bic did not consider their target audience's feelings towards the product. And it didn't help that Bic sold these pens for more than the equivalent men pens. So, a total failure. And it's not like the pens were bad, but it was just the connotations that they were sold with. It was bad marketing and bad planning. This is a Renault Avantime. This is a car that failed miserably as well. It was basically meant to be a two-door MPV by the makers of the world's most popular MPV, the Renault Espace. It failed too, because nobody wanted a two-door MPV. They brought a sports car instead. All these examples showcase products that were not properly researched. The market did not want them, either because they didn't want that product in general, or they didn't want it from a brand they didn't associate with that product line. Doing research for user experience is critical to understand whether your customers actually want your products that you think you are devising. This is also true when you come up with replacement products. And lastly, here is a product that no one wants. And guess what? It's well before The Apprentice. It's really important to understand, do your users want this product from you? Associate this product with your brand? Need this product? What problem is it solving for them? All these things need to be considered, researched and validated when doing UX design. Well, thank you very much for watching my very first video for UX Andy. Well, that's it. That's my very first video for the channel. I really hope you enjoyed watching and more content will be along soon. Please let me know if you like what you saw and subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, all that other good stuff. And if you like cars, check out my other channel, Andy Likes Cars, because I really do and I've driven some cool cars. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.